And away we go. It is the BCJ Podcast, brought to you by the Holy Grail, right here on BearcatJournal.com. Anytime you're downtown, make sure you stop in and see our good friends at the Holy Grail. They will get you taken care of. Great food selection. Love the pizzas. Love the Reuben wontons. A lot of good stuff on the menu. Also, a great drink selection. Bearcats and buckets anytime the Bearcats are playing. And, of course, get yourself an ice-cold Cincy Light. Every Cincy Light purchased at the Holy Grail will see an additional 50 cents donated back into the Cincy Reigns NIL organization. All right, let's get this show on the road. I said a lot last night, so I figured to keep you guys from hearing me repeat myself over and over again, which I'm sure I'll do anyway, we decided to plus one this episode. So David and I are joined by none other than Chatterbox's own Keegan Nickerson.
He probably just got like a text. You can't be on the show.
Joined by Bearcat Journal beat reporter extraordinaire Keegan Nickerson and Dave. We got a lot to get to. Our home field contract expired at the end of 2024. They will be back when we get to football season. So if you're looking to sponsor a segment, we have an opening. Home field is one of those 6-month deals. We do it every year with them, and they will be back. But for now, jump on board. Hit me in the DMs if you're interested in sponsoring a segment on this here podcast. We do have an opening. All right, boys, I guess let's get to it. Cincinnati Bearcats get handled fairly easily. Was not a very fun game to watch. It was, I think, very apparent roughly by the second media timeout what team was playing well and what team was not. And that comes to a 3-game losing streak for the Bearcats. All 3 of their games in conference play so far. I think Arizona is going to end up being really good. I think Baylor is really good. Kansas State stinks. Like that one's, throwing that fly into the ointment is rather bothersome for the Bearcats, but it is what it is. I gave my thoughts last night. Like I said, I'm sure I'll touch on some of them as we go through this conversation here, but I will open up the door to our distinguished guest, Keegan Nickerson, first. Keegan, you and Dave talk it out. What did you think about last night's performance?
Whenever I get asked like what's going on, I have to preface like how much time do you have? What do you want to talk about first?
Yeah.
Cause it's not a one thing fixes it all. Like it's multiple levels of stuff that is not good enough. I mentioned asking Wes what he thinks tomorrow, but like I think the biggest fix that can make the biggest impact is probably just getting their confidence back. Like the one that they had in the non-conference, the one that they had against Xavier and Dayton, even though they weren't making shots against Xavier. I think that would make a big impact and kind of trickle down in a lot of areas. And then where's the bench? Like it's completely disappeared. You have 3 guys who are supposed to come in, and is it fair to say they should be combining for 15, 18 points a game? Is that unfair?
I think the bench is way down the list, but 12, 15,
I think it's
sure.
Okay. And then you have the offensive issues and just not making shots. And then you have free throws, which you just got to make the free throws. It's not a scheme change. It's not anything. It's just having the ability and confidence to step up to the line and make them. So I don't really know what the fix is. Wes always talks about a magic wand. College basketball coaches talk about having the magic wand. And it's not as simple as just zippity do. But yeah, that's it was ugly. I think that was the first time they were actually dominated in Big 12 play going back to last year. Like even Houston and Iowa State, when they lost at home, those games were like, 9-point games.
Iowa State was a 9-point game in final score only. They got their ass kicked pretty good in that one too.
Okay.
You don't remember that? Like they turned it over 274 times in that game.
Like it was like every possession. They turned it over. I need to look at this, and Chad, you could probably give a guess, but if you had to guess the last starter for UC to play 30 minutes or more and to go scoreless, who would it be?
I have a few answers that would probably get me in trouble. So, Jeremiah Davenport, I can see.
Really,
he had some of those magical 0 for 13 performances. Sometimes he'd throw in he'd go 1 for 12, and the 1 was the least likely shot to go in, and he would make it. Did Rob Banks score in any of the games that he started?
Cheerio, mate.
Let's rob some fucking banks. Yeah, that one, Keegan. I was kind of perturbed on Saturday when I asked him specifically, like, if you see Jizzle or CMOS, the offense is struggling, do you look to be a little bit more assertive, drive to the basket a little bit more, like try to take your man one-on-one? And he was just nonchalant. He's like, no, I don't really, I'm just playing within the flow of the game. Kobe Bryant turned over in his grave hearing a basketball player say that. No.
What you're saying is going to be, it's funny that you're saying it because it's feeding into a bigger point that I have about this team and something that I don't really like about them right now. But for the game at Baylor specifically, there's a few, I'm not a casual, but I'm certainly not, locked into what every play call is and what set is and stuff like that. But with about 5 minutes to go in the half, they effectively lost the first half. They effectively lost my interest as they were allowing Baylor to shoot 59% from the field and had committed 2 fouls. And to me, I'm not going to call them the S word and say that they're soft, but that was a soft ass performance.
It was.
And I just won't watch that shit. As a UC fan of my entire life, I just won't watch it. Like, if that's the kind of basketball we're going to play, I'm not going to be interested. But a team for 15 minutes can literally do whatever the hell they want. And no one got mad about it. No one got mad about it. And to your point about Dylan, here's my point. Who is the dickhead on this team?
A lot of nice guys, Dave.
Too many nice guys. Too many nice guys. Like, when that's happening to you, who is the guy that's like, hey, whatever expletive you want to use, that stops now? I don't see it. So why do I think this is going to get better? To me, it has nothing to do with the offense and making or missing shots. This is attitude, man. This is like you guys, you two, especially Chad, talk about all the time about like the hungry team. Kansas State was hungry. They needed to turn their season around. Blah blah blah. Arizona was hungry. They had 5 losses already. They needed to get going in Big 12 play. Well, we were 2-0. Were we not fucking hungry last night? Or 0-2? Were we not hungry last night? Because it sure didn't seem like it.
Yeah, that's what I opened the aftermath with last night. Like, where was the desperation? The color commentator said it. He hit it dead on the head. They looked very casual. Their effort, their energy, the way that they went about defensive possessions, running their offense, like they looked very casual. And by the way, Noah, you said Justin Jackson, which I don't necessarily disagree with you, but hearing a lot of that today and former players talking about a lot of it, I went through and counted. Dave, you know how many times in Justin and SK's 4 years together on the floor they lost by double digits? You want to take a stab?
I'm going to say 3 times.
17. 4 times a year, those teams lost by double digits. And I think it was 7 or 8 that were by 20.
Yeah.
So bad nights happen.
Everybody gets their butt kicked. I mean, Tennessee made 4 baskets in the first half last night. 2 days or 3 days after they dog walked Arkansas up and down the floor. So like it happens. But Tennessee didn't lose last night because they weren't tough or because they were soft. They lost because they just didn't make any baskets. Yeah. UC lost last night because they let Baylor do whatever the hell they wanted in the first half. Whatever they wanted. I mean, like, it didn't matter.
In the second half.
Well, but I just mean, like, that the hay was in the barn at that point. Like, you're down 35-20 at halftime. You're probably not coming back. It probably really doesn't matter what happens in the second half. But like, that's where as a fan, you know, we can talk offense till we're blue in the face. You can talk, should the bench be shortened? None of that stuff matters to me. This team has an attitude problem, and they don't have one. That's the problem.
Well, the other problem is, of your starting 5, there's only 2 guys playing well.
Yeah.
Dan's playing well.
Aziz
is playing well. Yeah, that's it. Like, you know, Dylan is kind of on and off. And basically a lot of that is when they're able to get out and run, Dylan is effective. When they're in the half court, he's not.
Yeah.
And
CMOS is averaging 6 shots a game in Big 12 play.
Yeah. Noah, really hurts not having any inside presence or someone who can play with their back to the basket. I don't disagree there, but we knew that. Like, everybody in this program was well aware that they did not have a back to the basket scoring option coming into the season. Like, this isn't somebody was really good at it, and they're you know, it's not a Jameel Reynolds last year who was supposed to provide that and didn't. They built this team understanding that they weren't really going to have a guy that you can throw to on the low block. So everything about this team from summer workouts all the way until now was designed around that not being something that they were going to lean on. Would it help a little bit if they had that? Yeah, of course. You know, sure, it would help if you could, you know, you're in a drought, you can throw it to a guy on the block and he can get you a basket. But I don't think that's a valid excuse for what is wrong with them right now, because the team was built that way. Like, they knew that coming in, everything was designed, you know, to with the understanding of there was no, you know, Gary Clark or Trey Scott or whatever that you could throw it to on the block and they could get you a bucket. So I get your point, and it's a valid point. I just don't love it with this team because that was a known commodity. Like, you got to figure out a way to make what you have work. And this is it's not something that I say that's like this is on the players. No, the coaches have to do a better job of figuring out how to free these guys up, getting these guys to execute whatever the game plan was. Like, you know, Wes said they worked you know, on Baylor's switching of screens. Certainly didn't look like it, because it looked like every time Baylor switched a screen, whoever got switched on just stopped. That's the casual part. They were just like, oh, well, I guess they took me out of the play. I'll just stand here and see what happens for 5 or 10 seconds. Like, that can't happen.
Yeah, it's frustrating that we're only 3 games into a league schedule that we knew was going to be hard, and we're having to have.
Well, I don't.
What?
I don't know about that anymore, Dave.
Well, why not? We're not any good. It's going to be hard.
Yeah, but my point being, it's not exactly what we thought it was going to be.
No, but the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, I'm just the only point of that being, I think everybody was counting on a lot of these, even if they have a rough start, there's going to be a lot of opportunities to get right. 84 Kansas, 56 Arizona State, 47 BYU, 88 Utah, 48 West Virginia, 78 UCF, 74 TCU, 103 Oklahoma State.
Yeah, there's a lot of plus 75 teams.
We thought coming in most of the league is going to be top 50, top 60.
Right.
There's a top 5 or so, 6, and then there is a significant drop off. So if you don't get Kansas, there ain't a lot of quad 1A meat on the bone. I have no illusions of grandeur about their ability to beat Kansas.
Sorry for me laughing there, but
but the point remains. I don't think they're going to do it, especially with the way they're playing right now, without a drastic reversal of fortune. But there ain't a lot of big time top 30 opportunities left. And the ones that are left include at Houston and at Iowa State. Good luck.
No problem there. I mean,
track record.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
just real quick. Other than that, how was the play, Miss Lincoln?
Yeah.
Inside the top 40 after Kansas, Texas Tech at home, Iowa State on the road, Houston on the road, Baylor at home. Those are the 4 top 40 games you have left on your schedule as things currently stand.
West Virginia isn't?
They're 48th.
Yeah.
That is outside the top 40. That's why I didn't say top 50.
I just love when the AP is so far away from Ken Palm. They're 21 in the AP poll and 48 in Ken Palm. Yeah. Or is that net? Are you doing net?
I'm doing Ken Palm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, I agree, Keegan, about the bench needing to be better. But
I wouldn't play him.
The problem is with Jizzo and Seamoss playing the way that they are, the bench is just deck chairs on the Titanic.
Right. Right. You kind of screwed one way or the other right now. But there was a point in the game last night that it's they're already down double digits, and it's Day, who I call, a fringe starter, and 4 dudes that haven't scored since Thanksgiving. And I'm like, how do you expect us to come back in this game? What are we doing? I know starters can't play 40 minutes. I'm not being ridiculous here, but it's what happened to earning minutes?
The starters aren't earning minutes, Dave.
Well, they're at least,
oh my gosh.
They're at least giving you something. That's a total, offensive and defensive nothing right now.
I think the bench performing better trickles down or trickles up to the starting lineup, and that if they can get
no, other way around, my friend.
If they Tyler can make a shot, Seamoss will be better.
it takes pressure off from feeling like you have to get every good look and have to make every shot.
These guys are starting on a major Division I basketball team. If they need some bench guys to make some shots to alleviate the pressure, then they should probably start their next work in their careers and get out of the sport.
If they figure out the offense, but the bench keeps sucking, they're gonna win 9 Big 12 games. Very confident.
Don't play the bench. I mean, I wouldn't play them right now. I would play Day and probably Josh Reed, because at least I know what I'm going to get out of Josh defensively and on the glass. I'd play seven.
Honestly,
I know you probably have to play Arrington because there's.
You have to.
Yeah, Aziz isn't going the distance. So but it would be few and far between, man. Right now, you're going in. This just goes back to the attitude thing. Like, you're on the verge of 0-4 in the conference. What your confidence right now is already down the drain. What else are you holding back from, man?
Yeah.
Hey, starters, guess what? You're going to go Saturday against a really good team because that's the only way we're winning. And it's gut check time, and we're going to figure it out real fast, whether you guys want to make something out of this season or not. And I'm not putting it in the hands of the bench guys. I just wouldn't do it. I'm going down with my best dudes. And if they're not playing good right now, then they're not playing good. But I'm not rolling guys out there after what I saw Tuesday. Why should they play?
Some of them, they're playing essentially like one rotation and a half right now because they're literally just in to give a guy a breather.
Right. But I don't. You guys are 21-year-old uber athletes. You can play a 35-minute game.
Well, the problem there is the other team is also resting their guys.
Sure.
And you want your guys on the same level as them, not a step slow because they got an extra 3 minutes of rest around the TV timeout. If they were playing 17 minutes a game, I would be right there with you. It's like 8 right now, 7, 8. Now, Keegan, I honestly, I don't know about you. I was surprised Hickman played yesterday. And yes. I wouldn't be surprised to see him out for a while.
Yeah,
he's beat to hell. I know that the fan base has been very rough on him. I get it. If you knew what that kid was playing through and doing everything he could to be out there, efforting to be part of the solution, I think your stance would probably be a little different on him. Because he's literally just doing exactly the bare minimum of what can you get out there and do to help us?
Yeah.
It's not
but
good.
he got beat defensively pretty bad last night. So when that's happening, that's when the extended break probably needs to happen.
Yeah, that's when you need to look at it and go, we appreciate it. But for your
it's not
the
you, it's
betterment
me.
of your health. Well, he's not doing himself any favors playing in the condition that he's in right now. So,
Josh
maybe we
Reed
need to switch out for a week or two.
Josh Reed scored 2 points in 3 minutes and outscored Connor Hickman, Tyler Betsy, and Arrington Page combined.
Oh, yeah.
That 3 that he took was not great. I was sitting here watching the game and I went like that. I was like, oh, gosh.
It's just the other part is right now to your confidence part, Keegan. They do not look like they're having any fun on the basketball court right now. They look like they are flat out miserable. And that's usually not the path to a good result.
There's very few things you can control in a basketball game, and effort is one of them.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to do that,
they controlled it all right. It was their effort was very controlled, right, Dave?
Yeah. is as controlled as I am when I'm sitting on the couch with my remote and, flipping channels.
Yeah, it's like even I think it was CMOS dove on top of Jaden Nunn for a loose ball and got a jump ball.
It was like right at the beginning of the game, and I was like, all right, like that's the shit I've been waiting to see. Like, and then it was like, oh guys, we did it one time, we did it. Now we don't have to do it anymore. We did it. We made a hustle play. We showed some chutzpah. Now we don't have to do it anymore. We're good.
Yeah, and then Baylor just went on a little run, and it was kind of like, okay, something hard happened. How are you going to respond? And then you just didn't see that going out anymore. So I don't know. There's so much that needs to be fixed. It's so hard to address, but that is our job.
It is kind of our job. It's kind of what we're here for. The problem is I'm not even sure what the answer is to get Jizzle and CMOS going. As simple as you want, just make some damn shots. CMOS makes his first 3 right at the beginning of the game, first bucket of the game. He gets 2 more open ones, kind of close in that first 10 minutes of the first half, misses both of them badly. And then it was like we barely heard from him the rest of the night. And, Jizzle's got guys on the floor at his ankles, and instead of going to the rim to lay it up, he's fading away. What, do you have 3 more shots blocked yesterday? I don't know. Normally I've got a breakdown of if this guy can just get back to XYZ, they can get out of this funk. As the Pico Times likes to say.
Not affiliated. I'm not affiliated with that.
Not affiliated. No, we don't. We're not affiliated with Brad Schindel of the Topeka Times. That's his word. But I don't know. I was texting with Lepore last night. I don't know what the fix is to get these guys back on track, because they look really easy to guard. They don't look like they're playing with an advantage, which, ultimately that's on the coaching staff, is to get these guys in advantageous situations. And when they do get them, they don't look like they have any confidence to make a play.
Right. That's where I'm kind of a little dumbfounded, is we just, we can't figure out a way to get your best shooter more than 6 shots a game.
Yeah, kudos to him. He's not forcing it.
Right. But okay, well, maybe he should a little bit.
Yeah. I was just going to say.
There's a big difference between 20 shots and 6.
Yeah.
But again, I sit here I watch as a fan. I don't know. If I went to practice, I would probably learn so much more, but it's and so I'm trying not to be too critical of certain things that I just don't exactly know what I'm speaking of. But am I just supposed to sit here and believe that we just can't figure out a way to run any other offense to get guys? No, obviously, you make shots, it opens up so many other elements. It's just any other...
that's the main issue is if you don't make shots, you're just easy to guard.
Right. It's not a surprise that Jizzle is, when he does go to the basket, that he's getting shots blocked, because no one else is making shots. So there's no fear of overhelping and getting burned by the overhelp. But at the same time, I'm we can't get our best shooter more than 6 shots a game. 30 minutes. He made, like you said, the 3 pretty much within the first couple minutes, and he makes 1 basket in the next 27 minutes, 26 minutes or so that he played.
Yeah. And not another year, they won't have the best player on the floor. Like, we knew that coming in. We told you guys that. We talked about that in the offseason leading up to the season. Most nights, what was the question was, Chad, what is your biggest concern? Most nights are not going to have the best player on the floor in the conference. We knew
it was always the sum of the parts.
Right.
Would prevail, but that always became the question of, okay, what if it's a really close game? Then who takes over?
But the problem is far more than that right now.
Right now it is.
Right now the problem is the sum of the parts. Like it's like 1 + 1 = 3. You're not the parts aren't like 2 of the parts are broken. One of them just isn't working right now. You gotta take it out and never mind. I'm not gonna make that mistake again.
Yeah. Villanova just beat UConn, by the way.
Yes.
Quality loss.
Would have been a much better quality win.
Um,
But yeah, like Jizzle last year was the yoked up running back playing point guard, getting wherever he wanted to on the floor, and that element seems to have just totally disappeared.
Yeah. Kind of getting back to CMOS, like maybe forcing it up might be a good idea. Chad, do you remember what he shot from 3 against Dayton?
He's like 4 of 6, I think.
He was 3 of 12. But
yeah,
it was like all 3 came in the first 3 minutes. CMOS.
He was 3 of 12. Oh, CMOS. I thought you said
yeah.
Jizzle. My bad.
No. Jizzle was 4 of 6. CMOS was 3 of 12 from 3. But like all 3 of them or 2 of them came in the opening 3 minutes of the second half. And it was just a huge momentum shift.
Sure.
And it gave the entire team some juice. And like that's what making shots can do, as you guys were just talking about. Like making shots solves so much of your problems. So I think it's almost like they just need to get lucky and see, I don't know, 4 straight possessions, 2 2s and 2 3s of scoring to kind of like click in their brain. Oh, we can, like Wes said, we are a pretty good basketball team. We can score the ball. And we can go forward under the impression that we can score the basketball. So I don't know.
The only thing I worry about with CMOS is it feels like we talk about forcing a little bit more. It always feels like his forces are 28-foot heaves. And so like if that's going to be your force, then I'm not really down with that, because what's the likelihood that that's going to go in? I mean, when I say force it, I mean like get into more of like an ISO situation and try to do it that way than just like one-on-one back out dribble fade away long 3-pointer. But at this point, like I mean, we talked about before, I've always said Dan's the most important player, and that's proving to be the case right now, as he's the only reason they're not getting their tails kicked in all of these games.
He's not supposed to be playing like he is, though. He is not supposed to be an 18-2 guy. He's supposed to be like a 12. 2 rebounds?
He's supposed to have more than 2 rebounds, but he's a junior that, like, he's your guy. He should be at 15 to 17 points a night in the Big 12.
I figured like 13 and 7 and 8. 13 or 7 or 8. I did not. You expected? Okay. 15 maybe, yeah.
Yeah, like 15 points. Like he's had 18 3 in a row. He's going to have some 12s mixed in there. But because he is so unorthodox, like he will score, because it's like he's the one guy, and this is why he's scoring. This actually plays in nicely to this question. I can't understand how the team looks like it's easy to defend so well in every game. Teams that aren't known for defense are doing that to our team. They're right now, Jizzle and CMOS are very predictable on offense. If you high hedge or like force Jizzle backwards coming off a ball screen, he immediately is out of sync. And then he goes into dribble mode. And CMOS, teams are switching over the top of screens. So he's coming off a screen. And instead of leaving his guy behind, the guy in front of him is switching onto him. So he's not getting those curl actions. He's not getting catches in rhythm pretty much at all, which is why his shots are down, because those are the shots that he normally is like looking to take.
It feels like all of his shots are broken offense. He happens to get the ball under 10 seconds to go in the shot clock and has to and puts up a shot.
And that's not his game. Like but that goes back to my point of like, why is it so hard all of a sudden? Well, one, it starts with your point guard. Your point guard is not getting penetration. He is not getting downhill. And when he does get downhill, he's become very predictable. He's not going all the way to the rim. So teams know that. So help, like the one of the reasons the lob play is not working anymore is because the big doesn't have to come up to help on Jizzle, because he knows Jizzle's going to stop, pivot, give the defender time to recover, and then try to make a fadeaway shot that is now being contested. I talked about this last week. Like, for his entire life, drive to the lane, everybody collapses on him. He stops, pivots, makes that little jump shot, and the defense isn't ready for it. Now, the scouting report's out. Like, this is what we talk about for both of those guys when you move to the top of the scouting report. When the opponent, the first two things they do is they say, how are we going to stop Jizzle? How are we going to stop Simas? Teams have done it, and everybody's going to copycat what the teams are doing because it's working. And then those two aren't beating it. So Jizzle's not getting into the lane and collapsing the lane. When he does collapse the lane, he's easy to defend because they've scouted his moves. They know exactly what he's going to go to. So, like, you know, the Arizona game, late in the game when he tried to throw that lob over the top and Vesser was standing right there to get his hand up on it. Why? Because Vesser did not take even half a step towards Jizzle when Jizzle was driving down the lane. He knew, we're going to recover. We're going to make that a tough shot for him, or he's going to try to force this lob over the top, anticipating that Vesser is going to step up towards him. Like, they're just easy to defend. And that's one, on the coaching staff to try to figure out offense to get them out of it. But two, it's on those guys to make some plays that look a little different than what they've always done, so that you can make a defense say, okay, we can't just do X and Y and the result is Z. Like, they know right now, switch screens on Simas, high heads Jizzle, push him out, push him back to where he's not playing downhill. You do that, the offense will completely stall out. Guys will stand around. Jizzle will dribble, and then he'll dribble over to the other side, and they'll try to initiate the offense on the other side. And it looks pretty much the same until they get it to Dan, and Dan drives baseline or uses his first step and, like, makes a play off of his athleticism. Like, they're just predictable right now.
And I use the term in football a lot when we talk about that. It's the offense to me is just static. It's here's what we're gonna do, and if you take it away, we don't really have a counter.
The problem is the players aren't providing a counter.
Right. Right. At some point, like, players make plays. Like, you can draw shit up until you're blue in the face. Players make plays. So, like, I can sit here and say I don't really understand what they're doing on offense. That's only part of it. Like, the guy, like, you're the ones out on the floor. Figure it out.
Yep.
Like, what are you gonna do? Look back to Wes and be like, "Sorry, coach. We tried that one thing, and now we don't know what to do." So
and that's what Nick's team did for years.
Yeah, but they won, and they were tough. So don't get me started on that. I mean, to me, it starts on the defensive end and with attitude. Offense is so much more easier to run when you're kicking the other team's teeth in defensively, and they just don't do that. And so I don't see how the offense is going to get better if you just give up easy baskets to anybody that's worth a shit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to – they defended well against Kansas State and Arizona. If they play moderately well on offense, they win both of those games. So I'm not going to freak out about the defense yet. and Baylor is an outstanding offensive basketball team. So, I'm not going to jump off the ledge on the defense quite yet, but I understand the frustration because we all watch Baylor just dog walk that defense like wherever they want it on the floor. We want to go to the right side and, swing it back to the left, and the guy's going to be wide open, and he's going to be standing there set, waiting for it like this, and he's going to catch it, and he's going to shoot a three right in your eye.
Well, here's the thing about that. According to Ken Palm, do you know who has the 8th best defense in the country?
Cincinnati.
No,
they were 9th last night.
They're
Kansas.
9th. You know who's 8th?
Kansas.
No, Iowa State. Do you know what Iowa State did to Baylor's offense on Saturday?
Crushed it.
Okay.
Crushed it.
I'm not ready.
But again,
not ready to go defense too. But guess which one of these teams has some, what to them right now?
And guess what? Baylor got their ass kicked, and they responded.
Yeah.
Cincinnati did not. Like, that goes back to what we talked about. Like, look, that
wasn't in the scouting report. Like, hey guys, these guys got their teeth kicked in 3 days ago. Guess what they're probably going to want to do tonight?
I would have bet Keegan's salary. I would have bet a month of Keegan's salary that we were going to see Cincinnati come out and play like they were desperate. And instead, they played like they had won 4 in a row against top 25 teams, and everything was cool. Cool, Daddy-O.
And, there's even the possibility for a team like Xavier in that situation to look at Cincinnati. Baylor, sorry. Same ending, it rhymed. For a team like Baylor in that situation to be like, okay, we lost, but, Cincinnati's 0-2. We're at home. They have to fly out of a blizzard. This is going to be a game that we can handle. So, that could creep in, but it didn't. They didn't allow it to creep in. They played their game. Freaking Norchad Omier, dude. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's really
awesome. Good. 76 double-doubles in his college career.
Pretty good.
9
76.
Years, so.
Yeah.
This is his 4th year.
Yeah.
That's a long time in college.
Yeah, you're right. Because of Arkansas State.
I mean, he was in college when you were at Ross.
No. No.
Oh, you guys were seniors. You guys were seniors together. My bad.
No, I watched him murder Indiana. I watched him murder Indiana and Albany during the NCAA tournament my senior year. They're killed.
I don't know, man. I'm looking at Baylor's numbers. Nunn and Roach played almost the whole game and had 15 points.
Yeah, that's something people aren't talking about is Langston Love and Jalen Celestine didn't play because they were hurt.
Yeah, they've been out for a little while now.
So they didn't have 2 of their key rotation pieces.
Yeah.
And they beat
they ended up they played 7 guys. Played 7 guys. A couple guys got a minute at the end. Yeah, they played 7 guys. Why can't we do that?
Because would you say if you had to rank the 5 best players in that game, would it be Edgecombe, Roach, and then would you take Omier before Mitchell? Omier before Skillings?
I mean, Skillings was UC's best player by a million miles.
Yeah, but I'm saying on the court. Did they have the 3 best players on the court?
Roach.
None.
Probably none. I think I'd maybe take Skillings before none.
Yeah.
And then none. And then Ojuwana.
Who's your mama?
And
what?
Him and Aziz were pretty even. And that was Ojuwana having to sit, a decent amount in the first half with 2 fouls.
Yeah, Ron, I'll answer your question emphatically. As of right now.
Yeah.
I don't think
they prove otherwise. They're overrated.
I don't think they're overrated. I think they're very accurately rated because no one thinks this team is good right now. They were overrated, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
they're not overrated anymore.
Right now, properly rated, stinky.
Yeah, stinky.
They're one of only 3 winless teams in the conference: Colorado, Cincinnati, and Utah. Colorado 9-4, not good. Utah 8-6, not good. And then Oklahoma State beat the piss out of Kansas State. So,
yeah,
what's that tell you?
I mean, honestly, the only thing I want to see Saturday is within the first 5 minutes, I want to see somebody put Hunter Dickinson into the basket support. Like, just show me you guys got it there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing Dylan Mitchell doing one of those offensive fouls if it's against Dickinson on the first possession.
Just forearm straight into the chest.
But that, like, offense, like, that stuff doesn't even, like, I need someone to go up for a layup and get 2 hands shoved into the third row. Like this.
Matt, you're bad.
I will,
You're bad, Matt.
Mr. Simone the Elder. Yeah, no kidding. Mr. Simone the Elder told our 5th grade basketball team, no one drives the lane and lives to tell about it. We were taking dudes out left and right. Like, you did not go in for a layup. You went in for a layup and you got foul shots. If you gave up a layup, you came out of the game. That's what I want to see Saturday.
But you only want to play 6 guys. You can't take anybody out, Dave.
Not every, like, just set the tone, man. Just set the tone.
Dave's trying to get somebody ejected for a flagrant 2 on a team. He only wants 6 guys on the floor.
Well, put one of the reserves in and tell them to do it.
The John Chaney, go get the goon.
Yeah. Go try to get their best player thrown out of the game.
Chad, I have a question for you. Did you watch all of Mick's presser last night?
No, Keegan, I have seen that presser so many times.
Okay, so I want to ask you.
So many times.
25 times.
So he got asked, because he was obviously talking about, like, these guys are soft, all that stuff. And someone asked, like, how do you go about, like, how do you fix that? Like, how do you get them to not play like they're playing right now?
You take away their practice jerseys and you don't let them use the locker room.
I truly don't know what he meant by this. That's why I'm asking.
We'll know.
Yeah.
He said to this guy, he goes, "You're pretty young. You ever seen The Wizard of Oz?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then Mick just goes, "Some of these guys got to go see the wizard." Yeah. And then he just stopped talking.
No heart. No, like, that's what he means.
Okay.
No heart, no brain. Yeah. No courage.
I thought he was referring to himself being a munchkin.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if the shoe fits.
No heart, no brain, no courage, Keegan. That's what he means. They need to go see the wizard.
Yeah, we've seen that press conference 20 times.
I was audibly laughing out loud the entire time I was watching. I so wish I got to cover that.
Yeah, how many years was he at UC? We saw it at least once a year.
Sure. Yeah, 13 years, at least once a year.
Even after some wins.
Yeah. He went up there with an agenda. Like, Ben Bolch just asked him a question that had nothing to do with it. The first thing,
every press conference of his, there's an agenda. Let's be real here.
Every loss, every win, he's fine.
Yeah.
Every loss, he comes in, he's got it's mapped out. Like, that's the thing about Mick, is it was always calculated.
Well, okay, say what you want, and sometimes. And I didn't see the whole thing, and it was probably just like all the other ones I've seen. And you roll your eyes and shake your head, but guess who was on Twitter today, boys? Saw a whole lot of former players.
Yeah, sure. He also did this last year, and they still sucked all year.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know.
At some point, it wears off.
At some point, it's just a press conference. Like at some point, it's just the coach talking to them. That's why, like, people like, oh, Wes said in the press conference, like, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like they do that because they have to do that because we have a job to do.
Right. There's a post-game press conference, and like, I mean, what are you really gonna get out of them?
Right.
In that setting, right after a game or whatever, and they got their butts kicked just like UC did. So,
Andrew, some of that is they're always going to be a lower pace team overall because they play good defense. So good defense is hard to score on. You're always going to be lower in tempo because of that. Now, possession length on offense is 223rd. I think you'd probably like to get it up closer to like 150.
It's hard, though, to do that when you're in the Baylor game specifically, when you're taking the ball out of the basket.
Yeah.
And they're already making shots. They're already back set on. I mean, that's the thing. It's like we're not right now, Baylor game excluded, like they're not pushing the pace with, they're not forcing turnovers, they're not getting out in transition. Here's
the thing that people generally don't talk about. The teams that are the highest in average possession length on offense, like the teams that play the fastest,
they're not good.
They're usually pretty bad. I'm actually a little surprised looking at this year. Alabama is up there in 5th. North Carolina is 7th.
Well, that's because they give up 90 points a game. They're running up and down the court.
Yeah. Michigan is 17th. Gonzaga is 19th. Florida is 21st. So there are some teams in the top 30. Shockingly, Iowa State is 31st in offensive, average offensive possession length.
I'm sure UT is very low. I'm sure Auburn's pretty low.
Yeah. KU is on a roll. Not around. They just lost to West Virginia. Then they beat UCF by 1,000. But they're 1-1. Do I think they should start Day, Jizzle, Dan, Dylan, and Aziz, bring Seamoss off the bench? Sure.
I don't know if there's the just play better. It's like, do we really think they're going to just all of a sudden hit some new switch if they make a different lineup change? I mean, if they did, it would be totally random. There'd be no analytical data behind it telling us, oh, you shouldn't be starting this guy.
Yeah.
And that's why you're losing these games.
I mean, I don't think it changes that you don't have enough guys playing well on the floor. I mean, I guess you're putting Day in for Seamoss. That gives you a little bit more of a jolt, and but you move Jizzle to the 2 instead of Dan. Is Jizzle playing well enough offensively right now that you're comfortable with him at the 2? He's not making shots. Like that's the main thing I want for my 2 guard in today's college basketball is a guy that's going to get you buckets. And he's not scoring.
He's 1 for his last 13 from 3. So
yeah,
those are some good 2 guard numbers.
Yeah, I just I don't know what if you want to fix it, if you want to change it. I mean, the one thing I guess the argument you could make is that they did last year play a whole year with Day at point guard and Jizzle coming off the bench. So if you wanted to make a change, I don't know how that would go over Jizzle and his people and whatever that entails. If you wanted to make a change, that's probably the easiest like 1-for-1 swap you could make without really having to change a whole lot else. And then you bring Jizzle in at the 15-minute mark or whatever, and right where you were bringing in Day, and you just kind of reverse their roles. If I was going to make a quick fix, I guess that would probably be the quick fix to make, right? Keegan, you got any suggestions? What's your preferred starting lineup, Keegs?
Oh, I was literally just about to say it. I was going to bring it up.
I got to get some water. I'll be right back.
Give me, and Chad's going to have some takes about this.
Oh, I bet.
Day at point, Jizzle at 2, Dan at the 3, CMOS at the 4, and then Aziz at the 5. It's like it was the go-to small lineup last year that I feel like worked a decent amount. And I think, and Chad has talked about this, that CMOS is much better when he's going against the other team's 4 instead of their 3. Yeah. So if we're throwing stuff against the wall, seeing if it sticks, I don't think that's bad. Also, maybe light a fire under Dylan a little bit.
I don't hate it. Like, and here's why I would say maybe that might be the most logical one, but here's why I would say that. Dylan is supposed to be your energy guy, right? He's supposed to be the energy giver. Well, these guys aren't playing with a lot of energy. So, like, maybe that is something that if you bring him off the bench, when he comes off the bench, like, his energy sparks something in them. But, like,
guess who did that last year?
Day.
Jizzle.
Well,
that was Jizzle last year.
Day, right, energy guy, but like,
yeah,
that's why I don't mind. I don't necessarily hate that because Day, like, in the preseason when we, obviously before Connor has been dealing with a bunch of injuries, we had a discussion of would you start him and bring Day and Dylan off the bench as your energy guys that went up against the other team's second unit and push the pace on them and use athleticism and energy in that regard. And so if you move Day in and Dylan out, then, the only problem there, though, becomes with Connor being injured and not playing well, you can't just keep Jizzle and Day on the court together forever. So, like, when one of those guys...
You're all playing 38 minutes a game, Dave.
Right. Well, I'm just sitting here on a podcast. I went Saturday.
Yeah.
But, I mean, being realistic and for the long haul, if you did that, then who comes, like, okay, one of them goes out and then rests for a few minutes and then comes and gets the other one. And so then they're basically never on the floor together after that, or hardly ever on the floor together after that, after the start.
Well, I think what you would do there is at some point you move Dan to the 2 as you're doing your rotation pattern.
Mm-hmm.
You move Dan to the 2, one of them is on the floor. And then when the other one, the one that's out, is ready to come back in, you get the one that's on the floor a rest, and you just kind of cycle those 3 guys between the 1 and the 2. I don't know, man. I mean, look, everybody's got that's what happens when your team isn't playing well. Everybody's got an idea on how to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
I will still contend,
right. And we're right.
I would still contend the easiest fix is to have Jizzle and Steamos start playing like really good fucking players.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would you do to fix it? That's what I would do to fix it. I think Keegan's been sitting in that same chair since 9 a.m. Oh, and he was on that other network this morning.
You've been on, so that's what I'm confused about.
That was before they were doing a bunch of, never mind. Notice I haven't been on in a while, geeks.
Yeah. Okay. Trevor. Get to work, Trevor. Go get me a box score.
So I mean that would be that's my solution. You want my solution? It's to have CMOS and Jizzle start playing well. And I think most of the problems fix themselves from there.
Yeah, I agree. I think 2 of your 3 best players playing well is probably something that we should look into as a way to jumpstart the rest of the season.
2 of your 3 best players not playing well is probably a good way to start the conference 0-3.
Excuse me.
You're excused. It's probably a good way to start the conference 0-3. Kansas coming up Saturday. How do we feel about that one, Keegan?
Not good.
Not great, Bob.
It's just like you feel like you should be going in this game saying they're going to be playing with the chip on the shoulder. Like they're going to be going balls to the wall. It's going to be a physical game.
Yeah.
But there's no reason that shouldn't have been the last 2. I'll give you Kansas State. I'll give you Kansas State. Coming out floppy, and they're more desperate than you are, but still you should have expected it. But Arizona and Baylor, there was no excuse. And even like Wes said after the Arizona game, is like it's another game where we came out flat. And he's there. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. It's like, okay.
Maybe we should hire one.
Yeah.
So if I have no confidence if they're not going to come out physical. They have no reason to not, but they didn't in the last 2. So I really, really don't know. Okay, here's my thing. What are the odds that we hear about a players only meeting? I feel like it's
who's orchestrating that?
If I had to guess, it would be Dylan Mitchell being the
elder. So the
statesman.
guy that's been here 6 months.
Yeah,
he's well. Cool.
It's not. I can go down the list of people it wouldn't be.
That's been my point for the
Yeah,
hour. And
he's
2
the
minutes.
most likely one.
You know who I want to see call players only meeting?
JJ Rembert.
Aziz. Let's see
Yeah,
Aziz call the players only meeting.
that'd be a good one.
That's why I want to see Aziz run that.
Players only meetings mean someone's yelling at somebody else. Who's yelling at somebody on this team?
Is Miller getting outcoached? Sure. I mean, I don't know. I think it's really hard to tell when your best guys are playing like shit. Maybe they drew up great stuff, and those 2 guys just aren't executing it. But maybe they drew up bad stuff, and that's why those guys aren't executing. It's hard to figure out exactly where to point the blame. That's why if you want to blame Wes, go ahead. Ultimately, he's making a lot of money. It's his responsibility. So, you all right, Dave?
Yes, I'm watching the 2 best teams in the NBA play, and the one I like is not playing very well right now.
We're doing a podcast here.
I know. I'm listening. You were answering a question.
If you want to blame Wes, blame Wes. Ultimately, that's where, the buck stops. It stops with him.
Yeah, it's a chicken or an egg thing. Are there great plays being drawn up and guys just aren't making plays? Or are they not making plays because the plays are, especially on the offensive end? I mean, I'm not going to, I mean, what percentage? I don't know. But I do have some questions about okay, we're in this funk and these guys Jizzle and CMOS are clearly in a funk. Shooting the ball, not effort, but just the flow of the game.
Energy,
It's obvious watching. Isn't that the part when your big time coach is supposed to be able to figure out ways to get them out of that?
Yeah, I mean, and I know
some of that is on them. Like, guys, you're major college basketball players. Like, there's no reason that Jizzle should be shooting 32% in Big 12 play and CMOS should be shooting 31%. They're way better players than that. So that is on them. But some of this is on the coaching staff.
Like, you know what VJ Edgecombe did last night?
Dunked all over UC. That's what he did.
Well, he made a couple contested shots.
Right.
A couple shots that weren't easy shots. Had a guy on him, caught it, quick trigger, good closeout, bang, 3 in somebody's eye, and then he was rolling. Then he was in a rhythm. Like, sometimes sometimes you're good players. If you're a good player in the Big 12, you're gonna have to make some guarded shots. Not every shot is gonna be wide open. Like, I think there's this myth that, like, everybody's like, oh, they're just wide open shots. Like, that's the game. We gotta get wide open shots. I mean, like, no.
CMOS ain't shooting over 6'4" guys from Grambling anymore.
No, like, you gotta make
some shots. You're gonna have to make a tough shot.
That's the point of, like, having good players, having older, like, that's the whole trend in college basketball, right? Have older, veteran, experienced players that know what it takes. CMOS did not transfer up from a lower level. I mean, well, he did, but he didn't transfer up from that lower of a level. He just transferred up from the Big East.
Yeah.
He should have.
It's not a joke when it's fact.
Oh gosh.
He should have that ability to know, I got to make some tough shots. I'm gonna have to make some shots guarded, and then that opens up everything for everybody else. Jizzle's got to make some plays with the ball in his hand instead of dribbling left and dribbling right, and okay, then he gets back up to the top and they reset and they run a ball screen, they high edge the ball screen, and then he backs up and then he dribbles right. Like, that can't be. That's not what they're drawing up. I can tell you that. I know that for a fact. That's not what they're drawing up.
No one would draw that up. That's not a play.
I think Jizzle's the only person that has the ability to make those covered shots. I don't think there's anyone else on the team.
No, I think CMOS can. He's just not right now. He
did it the whole last month of last season. Everybody knew he was getting the ball, and he was out.
He made covered shots? Like, hand in his face?
Did you watch the West Virginia game in the Big 12 tournament?
Yeah, he was beside himself during that stretch.
Everybody knew that he was beside himself, and they were running dudes at him left and right. It wasn't like he was just standing wide open going, hey, guys, throw me the ball. No one's around me.
And Keegan, nobody's asking for that. But 1 or 2 a game would be nice. Like, that opens things up for everybody else. That, going 2 of 6, not attempting tough shots and missing some of the open looks that you do get, like, that's not going to be good enough for this team. If this is what we're going to get, is we're going to get 4 makes from Jizzle and CMOS combined in a game, they're going to lose a lot.
They might win 5 games in the Big 12.
Yeah, they've made 16 field goals in 3 games.
Look, it begins and ends right here, okay? CMOS 2 for 7, Jizzle 2 for 11, 4 for 18. You throw in the 0 for 2 from Dylan, 4 for 20. 25% from your 3 main guys, and they go 1 for 8 from 3. You're going to lose, and you're going to probably get blown out more often than not.
And
the problem is that's
2-3 minutes into the game.
Right. The problem is that's been the standard for Big 12 games for the 3 of them combined. Dylan's had a little bit higher highs because they've been able at times to get out in transition, and he's been able to play above the rim some. And then he hit the 2 threes against Arizona. But ultimately, like those, especially those 2 guys, if they're 4 for 18,
I mean, they're 4 for 18.
20%, Steve. You're right. 20. My bad. Bad man.
Like, I have a hard time seeing them winning any Big 12 games if they're 4 for 18.
Unless the defense is just great.
Right.
Like, and they win the game, Mick Cronin 54 to 53.
They just, the other team shoots 30%. They force 15 turnovers.
Yeah, they dominate the glass. They take
Day makes 5 threes.
They take 13 more shots than the other team attempts. Like, they shoot 67 times and the other team shoots 51. Like, what was it was like 0.8 something points per possession yesterday. While Baylor was up over 1.1 and that all the way until the last segment, they were almost at 1.3 points per possession. Like, you got your ass kicked, and you got your ass kicked because your best players played like shit. And wherever you want to point the finger, point the finger. Like, pointed at Wes, fine. You haven't seen me arguing anything on the boards with anybody. Blame the coaching staff, blame the coaching staff. Blame the players, blame the players. Blame Wes, blame Wes. Like, everything's on the table when you play like that. Now, I will say, and Aaron and I will talk about this tomorrow night after we get the final results from tonight, but this league is something right now. I don't know what to make of it. There are ass kickings everywhere. And not necessarily from the teams you think are going to be doing the ass kicking.
Right.
I don't know what to really think of this league. Like, I know it doesn't look like the league I've watched the past couple years.
Well, UCF just beat Colorado by 1 in Orlando.
Okay.
And then Kansas is playing Arizona State right now.
Yeah, but yesterday, Iowa State by 1 million, Arizona by 1 million, Baylor by 1 million, Oklahoma State by 1 million. The only close game was Texas Tech by 5 at BYU.
Yeah.
And then if you went back to Saturday, Iowa State by 1 million, Houston by 1 million, West Virginia by 1 million, Arizona State over Colorado by 1 million, Texas Tech over Utah by 30. Like, there are not – the only close games this weekend were Cincinnati, Arizona was 5. TCU, Kansas State was a 1-point game. And then yesterday –
yeah, everything else has been around 20 or more.
Yeah, it's just blowout central left and right. The only close game the week slate has been UCF, Colorado, and then you're getting Kansas, Arizona State right now in the fog.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know what to make of it. Dayton lost again, yeah.
Yeah, they blew a 10-point lead after losing by 20 to George Washington.
I mean, Ron, UC got 2 so far. They lost by 8 points combined in their first 3 games, or their first 2 games. Like, I guess if you want to call Arizona an ass whooping, but Cincinnati tied the game with a minute left. Like, yeah, there was a wild swing one way to Arizona, and then there was a wild swing back to Cincinnati. It's a tie game, 64-64 with a minute and change. That's not an ass kicking.
That's the frustrating part to me.
Right.
This is like the same shit I was frustrated about during football season.
Yeah.
The frustrating part is that you're in close games and you're not making the winning plays.
Yep.
And the winning plays don't necessarily have to be at the end of the game. Like,
right.
You know, the winning plays can be at any point. We're not making them.
Right.
We're missing open shots. And then when stuff is kind of shut down, we have no answer. And then yesterday, all of a sudden, we don't want to play any defense. Chad and I have talked about this multiple times. I've wondered about some other things that, just an overall attitude and toughness element of this team that I feel like has been missing, that was certainly missing last night. I'm not going to say it was missing at Kansas State or against Arizona, but like those are the plays, man. You battle all the way back from down 19, but can't get it done. The Kansas State game was infuriating to me because in the second half, it felt like 5 straight possessions. You cut it to 2, they immediately would score. Like that's a soft team to me.
The lack of bench points is what Keegan thinks is the main problem.
Confidence.
7, 8, 9. 7, 8, 9 is just not getting it done.
Yeah. I'll die on that hill.
Just alone with like a packed lunch, like a picnic basket and a flag.
Thinking about all my favorite bench players I've ever watched. Justin Jennifer.
Quadri Moore. The quad squad was out yesterday.
Coriante DeBerry.
Oh boy. All right. You guys got any more basketball words of wisdom?
I do not.
Me either. Kansas, Saturday, 2:00.
I loved your intro and the aftermath. You're like, brought to you by Mio's and Cincy Light, and you might need to get drunk before the Kansas game because it might not be very good.
Is it it's a whiteout?
It's a whiteout.
No. Just take the points all day.
Is that so everybody can like surrender?
Feels like it.
Speaking of planting flags,
take your white t-shirt off and no moss, no moss.
I just want to see some fight. They might lose, but I want to see some fight.
That's the tough part is even if they do and they lose by like 2, they're still 0-4. There's a lot of people.
But I feel better about what's coming than I feel right
here's
now.
The thing. I know I feel pretty confident at least one player from Kansas is going to bring it.
Flory Badunga.
Well, no, KJ Adams is going to bring the fight.
Yeah.
And
that's their dog.
If you're not going, I mean, we saw what he did to UC last year at KU in a game that they played pretty well, especially in the first half. Like
that was like Vic's last good game.
He'll put it on them if they don't want to be tough.
Yeah. When am I back on radio? Not next week, but the week after, I think, Ron. I think everybody got Mo and Tony and them got all their vacation in December. So they tend to work more in January. And then February, when the NFL season ends, I usually end up at a bunch of days in February. That timestamp brought to you by Turtles Brew. 6% ABV, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free. It's a bourbon-infused sweet tea. They have lemonade tea, strawberry mint, cherry lime, raspberry peach, and orange vanilla. There's over 50 locations in greater Cincinnati, more than 100 in and around the state of Ohio. For more information on where you can stock up, go to turtlesbrew.com. And remember, a portion of the proceeds go to save the sea turtles. Transfer portal, guys. Couple big commitments here over the past couple days. They bolster the running back room. They get better at defensive back, we think. A couple visits incoming that we know about. Christian Harrison, the son of Rodney Harrison, as I reported on the boards, will be in tomorrow. I feel good about that one, but got to get the kid here on the visit and get the commitment. So, I think they're in a good spot there. I'll let you two talk about the guys that they've gotten here in the past couple of days, or at least since the portal reopened.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tyree Walker is probably I would venture to say the headliner of the whole class, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably fair. probably fair.
I mean, I like it from the standpoint of, he to me, he kind of fits into the Mike Warren, Corey Kiner mold of a running back. I mean, he gets better with the more carries he gets. I'm not sure that maybe it is. I don't know. I mean, that would be it's going to be a question for the coaches when we get to talk to them. Probably not until spring practice starts.
In practice, yeah. I'll see if
didn't they do a press conference
after the portal,
end of the portal or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean they're going to do it again. But I mean, I would personally like to see more.
They announced. I think they announced. No, they didn't announce any of
them. No, they haven't done the big announcement of
so maybe
everybody.
maybe we will get one.
So, but I would like to see. I think for me personally, I would like to see more of a 50-50 split. Because I think I want to see Evan Pryor get more carries next year. Because I kind of looked at it as they each got 15 carries and then 10 carries came somewhere else. I don't really count Sorsby in that because if things are going the way they would want them to go, the number of designed runs would be lower. I think he ran the ball more out of necessity towards the back end of the year, and those weren't even necessarily designed. They were out of pass plays where he just took off. But he has a high yards after contact percentage. He's got a good gap scheme percentage according to PFF. My thoughts on PFF college are well documented outside of quarterbacks. I'm not really too sold on any of their analytics coming from someone that worked there. But I think that's the type of running back they were looking for. They were looking for, a bigger back who had experience carrying the ball 20 plus times and, if needed, could be that guy. I think that's the key part of who they were looking at. And who they eventually got is it wasn't just get a running back. It was get a bigger back. Now we'll figure out the carries thing, but if the guy had carried 25 times, he's done it and he can, and he fits our room, the running back room. He complements the running back room, and he should do well in our running scheme.
Yeah, I think he's, like you said, a yak guy, but he's probably faster than both Mike Warren and Corey Kiner, right?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think?
No.
He
from everything from
maybe
from talking to
I would say they're similar.
Not the same. Yeah.
Okay. That's what's interesting because after Corey leaves and Pryor has a good season, you're thinking, okay, Pryor's the guy, and they'll get a thumper to come in and just kind of offset him. But they got a high priority running back. I just don't see it being a 60-40 split between those two dudes. Just knowing, I mean, you had to invest a decent amount in Tawee Walker to steal him from Georgia and whoever else is coming after him. So that one that they got him was kind of surprising, but it's obviously good. And I think that they're going to work very, very well together. And he's he took 2 years off after high school and then went to a JUCO, and then he was a walk-on both years at Oklahoma, and then got a scholarship at Wisconsin, and then just continued succeeding. So, I mean, he's upward trajectory each year, and the next step would be 1,000 yards because I think he had 864 last year at Wisconsin. But he has the ability to to take control of the game, like you said, 24 carries, 198 yards against Rutgers.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if Rutgers was a bad defense, but I know they weren't a bad team.
No, I mean, he rushed for 200 in league. I think against a team that went to, I think the Rutgers went 8-4, went to a bowl game. I mean,
yeah.
But I know I mentioned this on the board. I know there was him talking about him. To me, it's very hard to extrapolate what he could be at UC based on Wisconsin, because like their offense is air raid with bad quarterback play does not bode well for a running back. And the stat that jumped out to me was that they played two quarterbacks, obviously, because the one got hurt, but their combined yards per attempt was 4.3, which is just terrible. And Brandon Sorsby's was 7.2, even with the end of season struggle. So, and Wisconsin still ran the ball like 35 times a game, which was only a few less than UC did, probably because they were like, well, we can't pass the ball, so I guess we have to run it. And other teams knew they couldn't throw it.
And you're in the Big Ten, where it's designed to stop the run.
Right. And so I think his yards per carry didn't flash because their offensive line was not anywhere near what, especially in run blocking, was not anywhere near what Wisconsin has been. But the fact that he was still over 4 yards a carry, close to 900 yards, 10 rushing touchdowns, like, put that in UC's running game against Big 12 defenses. I mean, I looked at, we both played 5 teams ranked in the top 50 in yards per carry allowed. There are 5 though where we faced and here's a good stat for you though. Pitt was 8th in yards per carry allowed, and that was Corey, like, up until they didn't give him the ball. That was one of his best games. Mm-hmm. So, like, we ran the ball well.
Quarter with the game on the line, trying to hold a lead.
Right. We ran the ball well against the best rushing defense we've probably played all year. And he ran the ball pretty well against 5 top 31 rush defenses. So, I mean, I like it because of the fit in with what UC wants to do on the ground and complimenting Evan Pryor, and we'll see if anybody else jumps up and grabs some of these other carries.
2 defensive players, defensive end, edge, I guess, and safety. Go.
Xavier Williams, safety from Middle Tennessee State, was a former dual threat QB at UCF. They switched him. He was a dual threat QB at Charlotte, transferred to UCF. He was there for a semester, but they switched him to safety in the spring. And then after spring practice, he transferred to Middle Tennessee State as a quarterback, under the impression he was going to play quarterback because that's what the graphics said, like commitment quarterback. And then apparently just went back to safety, had a really good year, led them in tackles, all conference USA. And he comes in. So I think he has a year left. It's a good veteran get for a pretty young room, all things considered. And then very, very interesting case in CJ McCray, who I think he played 550 plus snaps in 2022 and 2023, and then about 60 this past season. Apparently kind of just got beat on the depth chart. They have a first round pick that I think had 12 sacks and then a bunch of really good edges to complement. So just kind of lost his snaps. And then what I heard from Evan Watkins, who covers Virginia Tech, is that he's a very high character guy and he was happy he got another shot. So I don't think he's expected to come in and be a Jared Bartlett where he gets 8 sacks in a season. So I think he's probably more of a depth piece when looking at kind of all the guys they've gotten.
Yeah, I would agree with you there on McCray. With Williams and Barnes, and then also potentially Harrison, I'm a little surprised they're going 3 deep at safety. With potential adds there, I thought it would be more, and it's kind of what Chad, you and I talked about last week, is like the more you bring in, then you I feel like you want to give the young guys a shot, but the more you bring in, like a guy with 1 year left, and a guy from potentially coming in from Tennessee, like they're not coming in to not play.
Yeah.
So then do you slot them in over the young guys that I think we all like? They just need to play and be seen and gain that experience. I thought it would be more of like, and they still might add another corner, but I thought if you were going to go 2-2 maybe. But if they did,
I think there is a possibility you might see like the safety and corner room have some.
Sure. But just looking at these three guys, like Harrison, no done deal whatsoever. So I'm not trying to get out over my skis there, but like Barnes and Williams are safeties.
Yeah.
So is Harrison. He played the star for Tennessee and was playing pretty well. He basically just got jumped by Boo Carter, who was an outstanding freshman for UT this year. They ended up starting the last 5 games for them. So I like those 3 safeties. Like Barnes' 2 best games were against Texas A&M and Liberty, which were probably the 2 best teams they played. Williams again, I'll cite some PFF stuff for anybody who likes that. Had an 80 tackling grade. So maybe he's more of your, I can't even really call it in the box safety when they're playing 3 safeties, but maybe he's more of your what Jaquan Sanks played, I would say. And then Harrison and Barnes would be more of your outside safeties. So
yeah,
probably.
I mean it's going to be interesting safety wise. Like they have some safeties coming back, and then they're bringing in 2, maybe 3. Yeah, Sabor. Maybe he goes to an outside safety because you've already got Peak and Sanks at the star.
I just wrote down a list of all the safeties with the years left, I think. You want me to read it?
Sure.
please.
Xavier Williams 1, Hayden Barnes 3, asterisk, obviously, trend, Christian Harrison 2, Jaquan Sanks 3, Sabor 3, Peak 2, and then Collard, I think, is 1. I think Collard's 1. And that's not even counting CJ Crite, who they are extremely high on, and the other true freshmen that are coming in. So now that I think about it, my critique of this staff in the portal a couple weeks ago was that they hadn't added any safeties. And I'm not saying, and I got lip from some of them about it. I'm not saying that they were wrong to be getting these guys, because competition is good, and this is the best the room's going to be. And it's not like all these guys are going to spend their entire career at Cincinnati. It's foolish to think that that's going to happen. There's going to be movement. But yeah, they kind of have an embarrassment of riches, because Sanks is good. He proved as a true freshman he can compete. And then Sabor was the best special teamer last year. And then Peak, I mean, is it fair to say he won them the UCF game? And maybe the Arizona State game?
Probably.
And then, I mean, I think he struggled in the year, but he's interesting as well. Yeah, you're right. But that was just the last game of the year, I think. But he probably got hurt against Iowa State.
I thought he hurt his neck earlier than that.
It could have been.
So I like those guys, especially if they can get Harrison. I agree with you on McCray. I'm not, another big body dude that can potentially get after the quarterback, but I mean, he's played a bunch of snaps and hasn't necessarily shown a major ability to, but I'm never gonna turn down edge dudes that are
from the ACC
that can run and hopefully make some plays.
Yeah. Graybush, Arizona State up 33-27 at Kansas with 4.5 minutes left in the first half. And Arizona State is the game after Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Arizona State's also doing this without their second best player.
Yeah.
If they have Jaden Quaintance, they're fine.
They have Jaden Quaintance. Don't need an angry Kansas coming in here. I just need an angry Cincinnati, Gray Bush. It was shit about an angry Kansas or not.
Exactly.
We get an angry Cincinnati once. It would be nice.
Exactly.
And then Keegan, there was a visitor today, I guess. What can you tell us about that?
Look, Connor Moore, Montana State tackle. I think it's 6'5".
300. We'll just call
Someone had put on the boards that he'd played like 1,500 snaps, I think. 1,400 of them were
been a
at
starter.
He's
tackle.
probably started.
Yeah.
I think he's 2 years
Yeah.
from Ohio.
Connections to the staff. So I know Chad put on the board that it was Ohio State and Cincinnati, and then Michigan State's also involved.
Yeah.
Which should be fine. It can handle that. That's fine. It's totally fine. Cincinnati can handle that. It's not like Ohio State's still in the playoff or anything, and they can talk about that. But,
We'll see.
We shall see.
I think for right now, that is about it on the portal. There could be a tight end.
Yeah.
That, if you're on social media, you saw Joe Royer
Retweet.
There could be a tight end involved. But other than that, it's looking like that might be kind of what they go with into spring ball. And then, if you can't get the offensive lineman, or if you decide you need another corner, you'll still have the portal opening in the spring to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of like
they never know, Matt.
My concern right now would be if they don't get this tackle, where do you kind of go from there? Tackles in the spring, like, are we really expecting a lot out of a transfer tackle from the spring?
I mean, at that point, you're looking for a guy that lost a position battle in the spring.
Right. So, like, am I supposed to get excited about that?
If he's from Alabama.
Yeah, it depends on what position battle he lost.
I guess. I don't know.
I don't even know what to think with offensive linemen because it's so hard to, judge.
Sure.
If they haven't played or if they haven't played a ton, an
offensive lineman not playing is less on my radar because I don't expect most of them to play until their
redshirt
sophomore or junior years.
Right. So maybe there's something, but yeah, I wouldn't feel great about having to wait until the spring for an addition to tackle, but you're also going up against Ohio State for this guy. So
yeah.
Anything else football related you guys want to discuss? Team comes back Monday. Get started with winter workouts.
Did you talk about the new position coaches being official on Braswell getting a promotion on the BBP?
I think we did. I'll let you've covered it a little bit. So,
oh yeah, I mean, they made the Eddie Hicks and Adam Braithwaite hirings official, and then Court Braswell promoted to co-defensive coordinator, which was a lot of people were very, very happy on that, on the staff, on Twitter, and in support of that. I think Braswell's probably been. Has he been the most high energy coach that you've seen? Cardwell, maybe.
Cardwell or Vite.
Yeah,
Vite's pretty high energy.
Yeah, but Braswell, he's done a pretty good job. UC's linebackers have performed pretty well. So it was good to see him kind of get that bump up and promotion and take that next step in his career. And then Hicks comes in. That's another one that it's upward trajectory, and Braithwaite, another upward trajectory. So I'm intrigued to see who is the special teams coordinator, because we're still waiting on that one. But
doesn't make me warm and fuzzy.
We're still waiting. They're still figuring out special teams.
So, it has to be someone on staff, right?
Yeah. How long are you going to think about it?
Not necessarily anymore, because quality control guys are allowed to coach. So
they already have that guy on staff.
I know, but you could bring in another. Like, I'm just saying, like, it's not as strict at 10 as it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, they have an assistant special teams coach already.
Correct. So it could be him. Or he could be the assistant with, a couple guys, one guy in charge of punt, one guy in charge. I know that's how some teams will do it, like that, where, this guy's in charge of punt return, this guy's in charge of kickoffs, and this, they kind of spread it around so everybody's got a little bit of hand in the action. I don't know. I've been asking, I've been digging on it. The answer I've gotten back yet is decisions have not been made in that specific area to date. So waiting on that. Keegan, I got something for you.
What's up?
Eric Musselman did a blow-by past Mike Woodson in the handshake line. Woodson turned around for a moment and looked at Musselman, but nothing happened. They asked Musselman in the postgame, you know what Musselman said?
No, what did he say? I didn't see that.
I got no comment on that guy.
I mean, Musselman is a serial handshake line skipper. When they got eliminated by San Fran at Nevada, when he's at Nevada, he just literally walked around and didn't shake any players or coach's hands.
So he either takes his shirt off or skips the handshake line. Is that the two?
Yeah. Shirt off when you win, skip the handshake line, the ultimate poor sport when you lose.
Was Amir Bello able to make it to the game this time?
Yes, he played. That's funny.
Who won that? Did IU win?
Yeah.
Why would he skirt the handshake if USC had won?
USC law, right? Well, I just didn't. I mean,
he would have taken his shirt off.
Maybe he just doesn't like Mike Woodson.
He wouldn't be the first person.
Like the rest of the world.
Apparently, it just doesn't surprise me at all. Someone said Woody called him little fella.
Hey, little fella. Did he give I wish he'd have given him
that's outstanding.
The Kyle Washington, Connor Frankamp head pat after the Wichita State game.
Yeah.
All right. So, good game, little buddy.
Hey,
Chad, that's the first time Woody's been on Chad's good side.
Right. If he called him little fella, that's outstanding. Does this mean Braswell is on the same level as Vite? No.
It's just a way to get a guy a little bit more cash.
Yeah. Vite is the defensive coordinator. Now, Braswell will have increased responsibilities in game planning, and usually when you have a co-DC, one takes the run, one takes the pass. There are additional responsibilities, but Tyson Vite is the defensive. Tyson Vite's running the defense. Braswell now just has an expanded role inside the defense. All right. Well, got any the Simone 6-pack on the semifinals tomorrow and Friday?
Notre Dame, Ohio State.
I think so too. I want to see Free beat Ohio State so bad for a national championship.
So they can flip out and be like, we got to hire him. How can we not hire him?
Just lose their minds about Free winning a championship over Ryan Day. It'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, I think what's his name? Their running back, Jaden Love, something like that. I mean, his health is going to be a big determining factor in their game against Penn State, as is Abdul Carter's health for the Penn State defense. But
if you're making me pick between Marcus Freeman,
James Franklin, yeah,
Keegan, you seem like somebody that grew up rooting for Notre Dame. You just have that vibe.
No.
You just have that vibe.
So you're not super Catholic?
No, I'm Protestant. We've been
when I was a young buck, I was a big Notre Dame fan because I loved Rocket Ishmael. And like when Notre Dame had Jerome Bettis and Ricky Waters, that was a pretty fun team to be a fan of as a kid. But
I'm rooting for Free
for sure.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up. Thanks to the Holy Grail. Thanks to Cincy Light. Oh, by the way, these might be available soon. Might be getting close to these bad boys being available. I've heard, as you can imagine, they're probably not going to be super cheap.
No.
Probably going to be a decent price tag on them. But I do think they were working towards being available soon. When they are, I know how excited you guys were about it. I will let you guys know what to do to get in the pre-order queue.
Michael Boston's going to be like that Futurama meme. Shut up and take my money. It doesn't matter how expensive it is. Also, Daniela Tomic and Wes Miller pressers tomorrow. So be looking out.
You're excited to meet Daniela Tomic.
Yeah, she's got an interesting story. Pretty cool.
She does.
What is this story?
Expensive?
She grew up in Bosnia and then moved to
Bosnia
Croatia.
Herzegovina, actually, before the split.
Okay.
My cousin was there. My cousin was there for the U.S. military when whatever his name was decided to, do what he did to all those other people.
Yeah.
And then she moved to Croatia to play volleyball at a higher level. And then moved to America to go to the prestigious school of Arkansas Little Rock and play volleyball. And she said that she would read coaching books when she was like 14. So she just
So
always
you're going to ask her how much Arkansas resembles Bosnia Herzegovina?
She's like, actually, not too different.
6 of one, half dozen of the other.
What kind of Keegan? Did you have to do some research on what kind of questions to ask a volleyball?
I did some research.
I would have no idea.
I did some research today so I could sound like I know what I'm doing, but it's an intro presser. Like you're going to ask the same, how do you build a culture? What's the recruiting foothold you have in Ohio? And then like she was at FIU for 7 years and then Bowling Green for 13. So why did you want to leave for Cincinnati when you seem to love to stay places for long times? So that's my 3 questions that I'm planning on asking.
This is why.
But she got requests from bigger. She had to have. That could not have been the first time at school. She was winning the MAC championship like every year. So there had to have been a school that came in and offered her more money to leave.
Possibly.
Maybe I'll just ask her that. I'll just be like, hey, this is the first time this has happened.
Which is more expensive, the bourbon or the light? Expensive for who? Because for me, the bourbon. Because I have to buy the whole damn barrel and then sell it myself. For you, probably the light. All right, let's get out of here. Keegan, thanks for popping in. We appreciated having you tonight. We will see you next time. That is the BCJ Podcast, brought to you by the Holy Grail, live from the Cincy Light Studios on BearcatJournal.com.